Yeah, that's the goal. They're trying to kill him by having him talk too much because it's clearly very difficult for him to do so. He's like, I did say warp speed is great. He needs a Nobel.
Our agency for the next 3 years.
Senator Sanders.
Just want to pick up on Senator Warren's point. Are you telling us that the former head of CDC went to you, you asked her, are you a trustworthy person?
It's so funny, yeah. Like, remember during COVID, the richest people literally cut the line to get the vaccines, man. That's what's so crazy about it. Like, Rupert Murdoch unleashed a torrent of anti-vax commentary on all of his media outlets because it was good for the populist grift, okay? Meanwhile, Rupert Murdoch, I know for a fact, because I know people that work at his winery, was so unimaginably terrified of dying from COVID that he was consistently in a state of panic and isolation, okay? Constantly making sure everyone around him was getting COVID tested. He got his COVID vaccines before anybody else, okay? These scumbags who run around and melt the minds of your parents, your grandparents, and all these other dumps that are in here are the first in line to get that goddamn vaccine. That's what's so dumb about it.
And she said, no, I am not a trustworthy person.
She didn't say, no, I'm not a trustworthy person. She said, no.
Wow.
Giving a quote. And I asked her twice.
No, 1 second. And you're also repeating now that she is a liar, correct? What you wrote in the Wall Street Journal.
If she wrote that I fired her because she refused to sign on in advance for the ASIP committee, no, that's not accurate.
All right.
Like, when I see this level of psychosis, it makes it really hard to assume we can get out of this without like some semblance of education. Like, we need like a broad education initiative. You might call it re-education, but I think it's just education. Like, these people they need to be deprogrammed by like an army of social workers and like counselors and mental health therapists. Their brain is busted. Their brain is broken. What do we do? What do we do?
You're calling her a liar, and I look forward to her coming before the Help Committee, maybe this committee as well. All right, Mr. Secretary, I've got a bunch of questions. Appreciate brevity in answering it. So-called beautiful bill threw 15 million Americans off of health care, substantially raised premiums, and is going to have a terrible impact on nursing homes, community health centers, rural hospitals all over America. Very briefly, is that really making America healthy again?
It's going to have it's going to be the biggest infusion of federal dollars into rural health care in American history.
Yeah, you know why? Because you're cutting $150 billion for rural hospitals. You're putting $50 billion back. That's not an infusion. That's a loss of $100 billion. All right, next question. President Trump, who I don't usually agree with, called COVID vaccines, quote, one of the greatest miracles in the history of modern-day medicine that saved tens of millions of lives worldwide. Scientific community agrees with Trump.
Yeah, this is the other thing. Like, he also praised, he praised Operation Warp Speed because Donald Trump is responsible for it. But also simultaneously, he's saying the vaccines are killing people and they're bad. And it's like, how? How can you? Okay, so Donald Trump actually is responsible for the mass murder of Americans that the vaccine killed, This is the other side of the story. It is so inconsistent. It is so stupid. It makes no sense. This kind of conspiratorial thinking should not fall apart with surface level questioning, okay? Like, you shouldn't be able to undermine this system that you have designed with like 2 follow-up questions, okay? But that's perhaps the reason, or that's perhaps the clearest indication that like these guys still push for RFK Jr. and his way of thinking, or his lack of thinking rather, because they didn't arrive at this conclusion through logic and critical thinking and reasoning. They arrived at this conclusion through fear and anger and resentment.
Lancet study found that it prevented almost 20 million deaths during their first year of use. Secretary Kennedy, are President Trump and the medical community right, or do you still believe that the COVID vaccine was, quote, the vaccine ever made?
No, first
Sadly, I think the only thing that will change their minds if they get sick and or die, no. Y'all don't remember COVID, bro. No. Immediate family members were like, nah. Have you researched what negative effects the vaccine has had on people? Yes, I have. Okay? I have. The overwhelming majority of that shit is bullshit, okay? Do vaccines, just like every other piece of medicine, have adverse side effects on some people? Absolutely. Vaccines, however, have the lowest percentage, especially because they're broadly used by virtually every person. Are there allergic reactions, for example? Absolutely. Some people literally cannot get inoculated for that reason. Those people are some of the staunchest advocates for vaccines in order to maintain a herd immunity protection with mass inoculation campaigns so that they don't actually get sick and die because they can't get the vaccine for that reason. You literally just like look at some random freak that wants attention and is like shaking their legs going, this is what vaccines did to me. And you go, that I believe it because you're fearful. Okay. You're fearful. It's fear. I did my own research. Oh my God. I did my own research. Have you seen the VAERS database? Yeah, I have, dude. It says Harry Potter died of a vaccine injury. Like, what the do you mean? It's literally a thing that you can just write bullshit on. This does not mean that like people can't have adverse effects. You have to weigh that likelihood, okay? And I think a lot of people don't do that because they're too stupid. Yeah, VAERS is publicly reported by anyone without vetting. I know, it's so stupid. I can't believe there's still hella people that are anti-vax too in this community.
Oh, I didn't say that. Oh, I said that in terms of affairs reports a while ago. I said today, I think that President Trump should get the Nobel Prize.
So who's right? Is Trump in the medical community right, or are you right?
President Trump did an extraordinary piece of leadership.
Is he right or wrong? Did COVID save millions of lives?
As I said, he got Americans back to work. At that time, that particular vaccine, which perfectly matched
Why don't you make your research notes public? I don't know, man. What the fuck are you talking about, dude?
the virus that was circulating then. And I have no idea how many lives it saved, but it saved quite a few.
You know, what I find a little bit weird in this discussion, I'm hearing it over and over again this morning, Mr. Chairman, is we've got the entire medical community on one side. You got the AMA representing hundreds of thousands of doctors, the American Academy of Pediatrics, the American Public Health Association. All of these organizations are telling us.
I didn't love the inject this undercooked vaccine into your arm or lose your job approach. Vaccines work, but they had this one out in like, what, 3 to 5 times faster than any other? That's the problem. This is, you once again arrive at, you once again go, oh, it's undercooked. This one is different. I'm pro-vaccine except for this last one. Okay, you're not new or unique in this kind of hesitancy, in this kind of skepticism. This is where anti-vaccine, this is where the anti-vaxxer idea starts. Okay, you're looking for reasons as to why scientists were just like, for some reason or another, putting out. Scientists were literally actively just putting out something that's going to people. And what's really funny about this, is that every single one of these dumb that said the COVID vaccine is going to kill people said that it was going to have like it was going to be the Holocaust, you know, like billions of people that were inoculated were going to die any time now. You know, it's going to happen overnight. People that got inoculated were just going to simply perish one day. There were people talking about how like they want purebloods, people that haven't been vaccinated. Why didn't it happen? Why has it not happened? Again, it goes back to the same bullshit where people just like make up these false assertions, make up these like hallucinated make up these hallucinated alternatives and then alternative reality things that don't actually end up happening, but it's too late. You've already doubled down at that point.
That COVID vaccine and vaccine safe and effective. You are casting doubt on that. Who are who are the organizations that are agreeing with you and casting aspersions on vaccines?
The primary advisors are Marty McCary, Jay Bhattacharya, Dr. Oz, Vinay Prasad.
So you got a few doctors who agree with you, and I'm giving you the
Not a
names.
few doctors. What you're talking about is there's a big difference, Senator, between established science and the scientific establishment, which has been co-opted by the pharmaceutical
hold on.
industry.
So you're telling the American people that the American Medical Association, representing hundreds of thousands of people, have been co-opted, and that they should not trust their doctors.
And I'm
the
telling
American
you,
Academy of Pediatrics, and by the way, just for the record, every single Republican, I don't mean to be political here, Mr. Chairman, has received PAC money from the pharmaceutical industry. Are they all corrupt as well?
And I'm telling you, the American Heart Association has been co-opted by the food
Everybody
industry.
but you, Senator. But you know what? When you ran for president, we have a corrupt campaign finance system. Maybe you will agree with me on that. Okay, you were already president, you got a billionaire behind it. You received $300,000 from people, not from the industry, people in it, as I did, from individuals. You corrupt. President Trump got $3 million. Every Republican got corporate PAC money for the pharmaceutical industry. Democrats as well. Everybody is corrupt, but you? Is that what we're looking at? I don't think so. And I think the issue now...
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Well, I think you do know what I'm talking about.
I don't know what you're talking about.
The issue is every time anyone
Are you saying the pharmaceutical industry was supporting my presidential campaign?
No, I'm saying,
I don't think so.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that the pharmaceutical industry is a greedy institution which is charging us the highest prices in the world. They are pervasive. But to suggest that every institution, the AMA, the pediatrics people, is corrupt because they disagree with you is an insult to the American people.
Listen, people disagree with me all the time. I have arguments in my agency, heated arguments every day with Jay Bhattacharya, with Marty McCary, with Dr. Oz.
You have given the names of a few people. I have given you the names of organizations representing hundreds of thousands of doctors and scientists. I yield, Mr. President.
Thank you. Senator Warren.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So last November, while you were under consideration to become Secretary of Health and Human Services, Mr. Kennedy, you said, quote, if vaccines are working for somebody, I'm not going to take them away. No exceptions, no ifs, ands, or buts. You would not take away vaccines from anyone who wanted them.
Bro, I've never seen Bernie this heated. I've never seen Bernie this heated. My mother didn't get vaccinated. She got COVID and ended up in the hospital. She nearly died. And to this day, she still blames the hospital and the doctor, saying they didn't treat her properly. There's just no getting through to her. I spent weeks trying to persuade her, at least, to let my little brother get vaccinated. In the end, he did it without her knowing. I'm from Vienna. This isn't a U.S. problem. Well, it's certainly becoming more and more of an issue all around the world. But I think it's just like a like an ever-present issue here in America. I'm an American. Obviously, I know, American societal attitudes a lot better than I know anything else. But I will say, when you look at the data on this stuff, like, America is definitely the clear-cut winner on vaccine hesitancy. I mean, 51%, dude. We just looked at it. 51%. I feel like is worse in the U.S. than anywhere else. Half of the places where there is vaccine hesitancy is because we exported that fucking brain rot. Or we imported the brain rot, like with Andrew Wakefield. We imported the brain rot from other countries that dealt with this problem on their own, like the UK. And then we got the guy who actually did the fucking vaccine, the number one, like, anti-vaxxer, the most famous anti-vaxxer. We brought him to the United States of America, and we made him a legend, dude. It feels like there's no comparison. But I don't know, maybe I'm biased because I'm American.
Then last week, you announced that the COVID-19 vaccine is no longer approved for healthy people under the age of 65. In announcing the change, you said the vaccine will be available for anyone who wants it. Now, obviously, both things cannot be true at the same moment. So let's clear this up right now, Secretary Kennedy. Will you tell America that all adults and all children over 6 months of age are eligible to get a COVID booster at their local pharmacy today?
Anybody can get the booster.
I'm sorry?
Anybody can get it, Senator.
Anybody. So you're saying that is now the official rule of HHS. Anybody is eligible to get a booster by just walking into the pharmacy.
It's not recommended for healthy people.
No. If you don't recommend, then the consequence of that in many states is that you can't walk into a pharmacy and get one. It means insurance companies don't have to cover the $200 or so cost. As Senator Dr. Cassidy said, you are effectively denying people vaccines.
We're not going to recommend a product for which there's no clinical data for that indication. Is that what I should be doing?
What you should be doing is honoring your promise that you made when you were looking to get confirmed in this job.
You're going like
and
this.
That is, you promised that you would not take away vaccines from anyone who wanted them. You just changed the classification of the COVID vaccine.
I'm not taking them away from people, Senator.
It takes it away if you can't get it from your pharmacist.
Well, most Americans are going to be able to get it from their pharmacy for free. Most Americans will be able to get it from their pharmacy for free.
The question is, everyone who wants it, that was your promise.
No, I didn't. I never promised that I was going to recommend products with which there is no indication.
When you said...
And I know you've taken $855,000 from pharmaceutical companies, Senator.
Did you hold up a big sign saying that you were lying when you said that? Because you are the one who said you would not take them away. Now, Senator Kennedy,
I'm not taking them away from anybody.
Secretary, you
want me to indicate a product for which there is no clinical data?
Senator,
is that what you want?
Secretary Kennedy, you said you wouldn't, and now you did.
I'm not taking them away. Everybody can get access to them.
No, they can't walk into a pharmacy the way they could last month and get access to
it depends on the states.
A year ago,
but they can still get it. Everybody can get it. Everybody can get it, Senator.
No, because the reality of the matter is, if this kind of life-saving medication is paywalled, then no, everybody can't get it. This is at the heart of the problem. Good luck explaining this to the rest of America who are so used to for-profit health insurance.
So look, let's move on. You clearly are taking away vaccines. I've seen the list for what's coming up next, and that is the agenda for the next CDC vaccine panel. And first up is ratifying your COVID actions. Second is hepatitis B is on the agenda. So should Americans expect you to take away hepatitis vaccine access as well, even though you promised not to?
As I said, I'm not taking vaccines away from anybody.
Okay, same answer, right? You're just going to deny that when people can't get access, that you're not taking it.
Dog, you are not a random podcaster. You are directing the CDC to no longer recommend this vaccine, which means it will no longer be covered by health insurance, which means people will have to pay out of pocket for it, which means they're just not going to get it. What the hell did Olivia Nuzzi see in that guy? I mean, she's a freak on her own.
Away. Then let me ask you, is that the same game you're going to play with me?
You want me to recommend every product in the world so that without any clinical trial data.
Through on your promises.
Yeah, my promise was to give.
A month ago, we could get COVID vaccines by just walking.
You can still get COVID vaccines, Senator.
You are taking that away.
No, you are you can still get the COVID vaccines, and Medicare will still pay for them, and Medicaid will still pay for them.
Tell the head of the CDC that if she refused to sign off on your changes to the childhood vaccine schedule, that she had to resign.
No, I told her that she had to resign because I asked her, are you a trustworthy person? And she said no. So if you had an employee.
This is like a kid. Like a kid is talking. Like that's their counter narrative here. That's the argument that they're presenting. That's awesome. God damn, you literally have to have the same kind of brainworm that dipshit has to fucking agree with this, to believe that this is like a serious move.
Who told you they weren't trustworthy? Would you ask them to resign, Senator?
So I'm sorry, but this is not what she has said publicly. She has
Well,
said
I'm
she
not
was
surprised
doing
about that.
pre-approved. So you're saying she's lying?
Yes. Every conversation I had with her, there
And
were
let me get this
witnesses.
straight. This is the same person that less than a month earlier, you stood next to her and described her as unimpeachable. And you had full confidence in her and their scientific credentials. And in a month, she became a liar? Is
Yeah,
that what
you
you're
should
saying?
ask her what changed. And by the way, a month ago, you were voting against her. Oh, because you thought she was either incompetent, ineligible, or unsuited to the task.
I voted
Now I
against her
agree
because
with
I
you.
was afraid she was going to bend the knee to you and Donald Trump. And it looks like she didn't bend the knee, so you fired her. Look, you are putting America's babies' health at risk, America's seniors' health at risk, all Americans' health at risk, and you should resign.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here.
Mr. Secretary, in June, you fired every member. Mr. Secretary, Mr. Secretary, may I have my time back, Mr. Chairman?
Michael Bennett.
Thank you. Mr. Secretary, thank you for your attention. In June,
It's Michael Bennett time. That's right. Get excited for some dynamism you've never seen in your life.
you fired every member of the well-qualified panel that was charged with recommending vaccines to the CDC. No one in your job has ever fired every committee member all at once. That month, you told the American people that you were, quote, going to bring great people onto the ACIP panel, not anti-vaxxers. Are you aware that one of the people you put on the panel, Dr. Robert Malone, claimed that the commonly used mRNA vaccine, quote, causes a form of AIDS and can damage children's, quote, brains?
Oh my God. That's a Joe Rogan guy. Oh my God. Dr. Robert Malone. Oh my God. Oh my God. He's like another one of these like COVID era massive anti-vaxxer guys. It is unfucking bearable, dude. It is maddening. These guys are real ass demons. And now they are, yeah, this is Joe Rogan occupied government.
Their heart, their immune system, and their ability to have children in the future. Yes or no, Mr. Kennedy?
And Dr. Malone is one of the inventors.
Yes or no? Yes or no? Are you, were you
His
aware
claim to fame is acting like he invented the mRNA vaccine.
that he had that view when you appointed him to this panel?
Dr. Malone is, as I said, Dr. Malone
that
is one of the
statement-
inventors of the mRNA
That's fine.
vaccine,
That's not
so he
answering
knows
my-
a lot more
that
about
statement,
it than I do.
Mr. Chairman, that statement is not true that Dr. Malone made, just as it wasn't true when you wrote that, quote, African AIDS is entirely different from Western AIDS. Are you aware that another one of these new members, Dr. Levy, wrote that, quote, evidence is mounting and indisputable that mRNA vaccines cause serious harm, including death, especially among young people? Yes or no? Are you aware that he said that?
I wasn't aware he said it, but I think I agree with it.
You agree with it. It's not true. It wasn't true when he said it. It is not true when you said it. Secretary Kennedy, later this month, your new panel will meet to consider changing vaccine recommendations for American children. In addition to the COVID-19 vaccines, they are set to review recommendations for the hepatitis B vaccine, for measles, for mumps, for rubella and varicella vaccine, and the RSV vaccine. These are common back-to-school vaccinations for children all over the industrialized world. If you change that, you owe parents in Colorado and across the country the benefit of some transparency, I think. If your panel recommends changing the vaccine schedule for children, do you anticipate that fewer children will receive these common vaccinations, yes or no?
What I would say, Senator,
The
is
obvious
that
answer is yes. Should parents and schools of Colorado be prepared for more measles outbreaks as a result of that, Mr. Secretary?
Senator,
How about more mumps outbreaks.
I do not anticipate a change in the MMR vaccine. ACIP is an independent panel. So,
Well, it's a panel you just put those folks on. Far from what you said, they're people with ideas that are completely outside the mainstream.
you mean out of the pharmaceutical paradigm?
Let me just say, Mr. Secretary, all these vaccines that we're talking about today are free and accessible to parents.
I think one of the dumbest parts about like the vaccine hesitancy, beyond that it's just born out of like ridiculous fears, is that there is no reason for it. Like, what's the reason? Why? I hate big pharma. I hate that there is any sort of profit incentive in healthcare. Okay? It should not exist. But why? Like, these guys, their answers for the why are so stupid. Like, they literally think, oh no, they want to give everybody gay autism. Like, that makes no fucking sense. Why? Why do they want to give everybody gay autism? They want to kill everybody? Why? Why do they want to kill everybody? It always goes to like, oh, they want to do government control. And it's like, okay. But don't you feel like they're killing, by your own estimation? Don't you feel like they're killing the most servile people? And the only ones that will remain will rise up against the government? Also, why would they want to kill all of these people anyway? What's the purpose? It just doesn't make sense. It's literally the most limited scrutiny, just marginal scrutiny, and everything fucking falls apart.
Today in America who have the freedom to be able to make that choice for their children. Will that be true after your handpicked panel makes their judgments about these vaccines?
I think that parents should be free to...
I know you said that before. I do too.
To make their own choices.
So will they be just as free after these?
Not a great argument, in my opinion. Why does capital not pay their fair share of profits? Wouldn't a normal business owner want to keep their servile peasants hanging on by a thread instead of condemning them to die? Wait, what the fuck are you talking about? That is literally, it is because of the capitalist incentive that I think the entire argument against vaccines is idiotic. You vaccinate your cattle. In the mind of the capital owner, the laborer is cattle, is nothing but cattle. The reason why there was an expeditious vaccine release and inoculation campaign that was all-encompassing in spite of the profit incentive was precisely so that the cattle could be fucking vaccinated and get back to work and produce super profits. That's it. It's precisely that reason that for once all of the world's like global interests aligned, which ended up helping the help boost like the overall public welfare.
I assume they will be.
I will hold you to that, Secretary Kennedy, because this is not a podcast. It is the American people's health that's on the line here. This is the last thing, by the way, our parents need when their kids are going back to school, is to have the kind of confusion and expense and scarcity that you're creating as a result of your ideology. I think it's critical for you to share the evidence that this panel will rely on. Will you give the American people 6 months or 6 weeks in advance the record that they're going to rely on to make these decisions?
I think someone unironically thought RFK Jr.'s insane breathing into the microphone was me eating and got mad at me. Notice how I'm eating right now and you're not hearing a fucking single noise? That's because there's a noise gate. It's actually RFK Jr.'s breathing that you're fucking hearing, and you're yelling at me over it.
Will you make it transparent for the American people?
All the evidence is transparent.
Will you make it in advance transparent for the American people so they can comment on it?
All the evidence is transparent for the first time in history, and you were never there complaining when the pharmaceutical companies were picking those people and then running their products through with no safety testing.
You can characterize it any way you want. I quoted them today. What I said was accurate. What you said were lies. You described moving the Titanic.
Senator, are you saying that the mRNA vaccine has never been associated with myocarditis or pericarditis in teenagers?
I am simply.
Is that what you're trying to tell us?
I am simply trying to say that the people that you have put on that panel after firing the entire...
You're evading the question.
I'm asking the questions here,
You're
Mr.
evading
Kennedy.
that question.
I'm asking the questions,
I
Mr.
asked you a
Kennedy.
question.
I'm asking the questions for Mr. Kennedy on behalf of parents and schools and teachers all over the United States of America who deserve...
Bro, I've never seen Michael Bennett this animated, and I'm a Bennett head. Okay. I think these guys, I'm not even kidding. I don't like, normally this is theater, right? And in some respects, in the absence of any sort of initiative, any sort of change coming from the regulatory agencies, that is all this will be. But I'm not kidding when I say, like, the reason why these guys are this mad about it is because this is objectively insane. It's so insane that these, like, otherwise indecent charlatans who normally don't care about any of this shit are unironically pissed off. Which makes sense. I mean, this guy is actively undermining the public good, the social welfare of all citizens. It's psychotic. I'm sorry, you can't have a guy with complete control over the CDC be a guy who says, like, there's an African version of AIDS that's different, you know? And I'm not saying that because, oh my God, it's racist. Like, it's insane. It's just not real, as many, if not all, racist statements are. This one is also not real. And it's extra crazy when the guy pushing that, the guy pushing these narratives is like a anti-vaccine, anti-modern medicine kook. Like I said, what I don't fully understand is how these dipshits, like how capital owners don't actually have an issue with this or want to like actively change this outcome before it goes too far.
So much better than your leadership. That's what this conversation is about, Mr. Chairman.
Senator, they deserve the truth, and that's what we're going to give them for the first time in the history of that agency.
Senator Warner.
Mr. Secretary, I agree with a lot of my colleagues' statement. I actually had hoped, I didn't support you. I thought taking on chronic illnesses was going to be important. I've got 2 kids, as we discussed when you met, that have chronic illnesses. I'm not sure that the focus on red dye and seed oils are going to fully solve that problem.
Of course they won't.
I would say this, that seems where your emphasis is. I want to go back to just, again, some basic facts. Do you accept the fact that 1 million Americans died from COVID?
I don't know how many died.
You're the Secretary of Health and Human Services. You don't.
It's your job to know. What do you mean you don't know? It's crazy. I mean, I know why he's saying that, because he can't say what he truly thinks, because then people are going to be like, you're a fucking insane person. So he has to be like, I don't know how many people died.
Have any idea how many Americans died from COVID?
I don't think anybody knows that because there was so much data chaos coming out of the CDC, and there were so many perverse incentives. And these are model
You don't know the answer of how many Americans died from COVID. This is the Secretary of Health and Human Services. Do you think the vaccine did anything to prevent?
Yeah, he's trying to say he knows, or he knows what the official number is of the agency that he is like in charge of. He just wants to say that like they fucked up the numbers. RFK Jr. holds these 2 conflicting positions in his mind at the same time. One is probably being advocated by the worm. The other one is whatever remains of his brain. RFK Jr. one believes that COVID actually wasn't as deadly and that the CDC actually lied about the numbers in order to push a vaccine. But he also thinks COVID was an incredibly deadly bioweapon designed by Ashkenazi Jews and the Chinese. So how is it that these 2 things can it coexist at the same time? Unless you're saying like the Ashkenazi Jews and the Chinese that created COVID as a bioweapon actually failed to deliver like a bioweapon that was as deadly, which from what I understand, that's not actually what his advocacy is. So
Additional deaths.
Again, I would like to see the data and talk about the data.
You have had this job for 8 months, and you don't know the data about whether the vaccine saved
and
lives?
that's the problem, is that they didn't have the data. The data by the Biden administration, absolutely dismal. It was data chaos.
Who is politicizing? You're saying the Biden administration politicized all the data? Go back to what Senator Cantwell just
They
said.
fired Dr.
Go to
Krause.
the Trump Surgeon General.
They fired Dr. Krause. They fired all the people who questioned the orthodoxy. They fired Dr. Gruber, Dr. Krause,
So,
Martin
Mr. Chairman, the
Kilgore.
Secretary of Health and Human Services doesn't know matter how many Americans died from COVID. Doesn't know if the vaccine helped prevent any deaths. And you are sitting as Secretary of Health and Human Services? How can you be that ignorant? Like, you know, I remember when we went to
just
the
how it
hearing
is,
with you, I
baby.
asked you about community health centers. You didn't know what role they play. I've been visiting community. I'm glad you got to one. I think in April. I tell you what I hear on community health centers, they are terrified, with all due respect to my good friend, the chairman, of the big awful bill.
Not to be the friend who's too woke, but like a lot of my anger and resentment certainly extends to the Democrats as well, who have allowed this unjust system of for-profit medicine and for-profit healthcare to continue without genuinely advocating for change and the eradication of profit from the field of healthcare and medicine in general. This is why there is so much skepticism. A lot of people's starting point about big pharma unironically stems from profits. They say big pharma sucks because it's all at the behest of profit. They only care about the profit. That's perhaps part of the reason why in places where there are a less obvious profit incentive in like socialized medicine structures, there's less vaccine hesitancy. That's it, though. That's where a lot of people's anger and resentment starts off at. The notion that it is anti-human that these companies are actually paywalling life-saving medicine. That is so against the human condition. That is so anti-human in general that I think it breaks people's brains when they see that. So once again, the free market capitalism has caused Americans to shoot themselves in the foot once more.
Because they are going to lose health care across the board. They already live in food deserts. They can't get to a nutritionist because Medicaid doesn't do enough reimbursement. If you're going to want Americans to get healthier, should they have access to nutritionists? Should they have access to good science about healthy food?
Absolutely.
Well, then how is that going to happen with the Medicaid?
Well, I think the problem was Democrats and the left belittled anti-vaxxers rather than respected their anxiety and addressed it. The fuck are you talking about? Oh my God. This is the lamest shit of all time, brother. Oh my Lord. I hate this. This is the same exact argument. Oh, you bullied the incels too much. That's why they became white supremacists. I get bullied all the fucking time on the internet. People say unimaginable shit about me. I don't fucking change my opinion on whether or not people deserve free healthcare. The fuck do we mean? What are we talking about? Yeah, we should have respected the insane hallucinations of a person. It's not whether the reaction is justified. Brother, what are you doing? These guys were like hallucinating an alternative dimension, and you're over here being like, no, you have to take them seriously or else they're insane. I know. Well, it happened anyway. Tell that to a fuck ton of chatters in this community who probably had a bunch of immediate family members that got swept away with this anti-vaxxer shit. Okay. And they tried their very best. They tried their very best to try to pull them off that ledge and failed to do so. You know, no amount of like kindness or leaning into their anxieties actually helped. And I don't even know how you do it. I think you just got to shut off the misinformation faucet. My mom still takes ivermectin monthly. Oh my God. I did this with my mom and she still thinks shit like the vax is the mark of Satan. Oh, bro, the Democrats were literally a fucking cult during COVID. Do you remember how they'd freak the fuck out if you questioned anything from Fauci, despite the fact that he was constantly changing his statements? Brother, Dr. Fauci is a fucking epidemiologist. What do you mean? Their entire role is to go along with this delicate tightrope on the one hand, where they want to make sure that as large of a population as possible is protected, but not go so heavy-handed that simultaneously it gets out of control. Of course, it's a novel disease it's a novel disease that killed 1 million+ Americans, dude. Like, yeah, they're going to get shit wrong. What do you mean? You have to be understanding. Like, the problem here is our healthcare system, but don't act like the insanity during COVID didn't get us to this point. No, dude. No. It was frustrating. It was annoying. I understand it. I mean, look, the greatest example I always use is like, there was a point in COVID when people were like, you have to take like Clorox wipes and clean your groceries. Okay. And I was like, you know what? I'd rather fucking die. Okay. I did it one time and then I was like, nah, I'll die. I didn't make it like a pivotal part of my character and political advocacy. I just kind of kept it to myself where I was like, yeah, I'll fucking die then. I don't care. Okay. And it turns out it was wrong anyway. But that didn't cause me to go insane mode and be like, well, I think vaccines are actually, causing people to become satanic. I did it once and I didn't even fully commit to it. And I was like, nah, I'm never doing that. Isn't that a Felix from Chapo bit? I mean, if you were in here during COVID, you've literally probably heard me talk about this or in the process. I've literally, that was my turning point. I think multiple people can have the same shared experience. There are probably thousands of people who also had a very similar experience. It's so stupid because like that didn't cause me to go, well, I guess all of the scientists are liars and they're trying to kill people. You want to know why? Because I'm not a fucking idiot, or at least I know my limitations. I am dumb, but at least I know my fucking limitations. Okay? What do I mean by this? When scientists got stuff wrong during an unprecedented novel virus that was straight up murking people and exhausting the already limited health resources that we already had as a direct consequence of the profit incentive being the most important part of our healthcare structure, I didn't just go, well, they were wrong on this, which means they're trying to kill people. I went, well, they probably were wrong on this because they're trying to be extra careful. That's it. That's the difference. Especially pre-vaccine. Like, oh my God, especially pre-vaccine. Like, that shit was not good at all, man.
Medicaid cuts that are taking place.
There are no cuts to Medicaid.
Sir, that is an absurd. There is not a single, some of my Republican colleagues, but there was not a single study that does not, and I can tell you, I was in Franklin, Virginia a couple days ago. The rural hospital is going to close. The hospital system was so afraid they wouldn't even let me have the meeting there. But that rural hospital is going to close. And they are looking for where those folks are going to go. I mean, you're supposed to be doing health care policy, not being the doctor in residence for all of America. I hope I can just say, I'm still going to trust my doctor rather than your health advice. And obviously, Tom Cotton's going to, who knows who he's going to trust. But let me go back to policy for a couple, so maybe we can lower the temperature a little bit. I got a bipartisan bill, be a systemic fix, not a vote-buying mechanism when Medicaid's getting cut, what was put in on the rural hospitals. One of the things we could do, Mr. Secretary, is make sure that the folks who work in rural hospitals get an 80% reimbursement of what folks get in more urban centers. Would you support that legislation?
Are you talking about the area wage index?
I'm talking about the area wage index and moving that up to 80%. So there is actually ability to get rural providers.
President Trump supports that, and we support
Do you support
that.
You support. Good. So you will work with us to get that passed.
Yes.
That will increase costs on both Medicaid and Medicare. So you are committed.
Worst part is that people who got COVID after getting the vaccine then said the vaccine was bullshit because the COVID didn't hit them that hard. Yeah, no shit. You took the vaccine. Yeah, it's the same principle behind people that advocate against the fucking polio vaccine. They're like, well, there's no polio. It's like, yeah, of course there's no polio because there's a fucking polio vaccine. Yeah, I know. You're talking about the unimaginable success of the marvels of modern medicine. Andrew's trying to share his perspective of Fossabot as a hater. In March 2021, Detroit was slam bad. We got told in the hospital to not wear masks in the hallways and couldn't get any gear we needed to do our jobs. We knew from the jump we were cooked regarding COVID. If we couldn't even contain it in the hospital, we knew the public would be fucked. We needed a China-style lockdown, and people act like 6 feet apart, and masking was draconian law. It should have been even more strict, but Trump and Biden dropped the ball. I got the vax the first week. Yeah. I got the vaccine as soon as I was able to get it. Like as soon as it was my turn, I didn't even hesitate. I don't understand how people look at that and go, nah, dude, this thing that's like fucking murking people left and right and creating lifelong complications for the lucky people who don't get vented and then die. Okay. I don't want it. I don't want it to fucking choke slam my ass. Oh, and like I said, all the rich people cut the line, man. That's, oh my God, this is like giving me flashbacks to my days in lockdown, having to deal with like some of the dumbest vaccine skeptics of all time.
I appreciate that. What about Senator Wyden and I've got a bill because across America,
What about what?
hospitals are shutting down on their OBGYN services. Try to have a baby. I don't know about in all of my other friend states, but in Southside Virginia, you can't find a hospital. Will you work with us to make sure that before OBGYN are taken out of a rural hospital, there has to be a process and procedure?
I'm happy to work with you on that, Senator, meet with you and see if we can work with you on it. I don't know exactly what the issue is.
Well, again, the Secretary of Health and Human Services, who has said he doesn't know how many people died from COVID, doesn't know if the vaccine saved lives, doesn't understand the issue that OBGYN doctors are fleeing rural America because they can't afford it. And with the cuts that are coming up, it's going to be exponentially worse. I would invite you, sir, to come with me to a community health center in Virginia and hear what is on people's mind. They want to get healthier, absolutely. Count me in. But they also don't want their basic health care removed. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Secretary, do you agree with me that the president deserves a Nobel Prize for Operation Warp Speed?
Yeah, absolutely, Senator. That was phenomenal.
Let me ask you, but you just told Senator Bennett.
So, Bill Cassidy is like yet another guy who's like a fucking Trump dick rider, so it doesn't even matter. But, you know, this is, I guess, I mean, he's a doctor, but still evil, okay? That's what happens when you are a doctor, but also still evil, as in a Republican.
That the COVID vaccine killed more people than COVID.
Wait,
That was a statement.
I did not say that.
Okay, then let me ask, because you also were
Senator, I just want to make clear, I did not say that.
We'll check the record. That's a question of fact. You also said that you were also, as lead attorney for the Children's Health Defense, you engaged in multiple lawsuits attempting to restrict access to the COVID vaccine. Again, it surprises me that you think so highly of Operation Warp.
Are they all trying to get RFK to hyperventilate and pass out so they can point at him and laugh that this is the guy who thinks he can make us healthy? Yeah, that's the goal. They're trying to kill him by having him talk too much because it's clearly very difficult for him to do so. It's like, I did say warp speed is great. He needs a Nobel.
Speed, when as an attorney restrict access. Well, let me ask.
I'm happy to explain why.
I had 3 minutes and 30 seconds left. It also surprises me because you've canceled, or HHS did, but apparently under your direction, $500 million in contracts using the mRNA vaccine platform that was critical to Operation Warp Speed. Again, an accomplishment that I think President Trump should get a Nobel Prize for. You canceled $500 million in contracts. Now,
yes, Bill Cassidy, by the way, Dr. Bill Cassidy, also voted to confirm RFK, by the way. You know, I don't know if this is a little bit of buyer's remorse here or if he's just trying to like, is he just trying to posture as like a normal human because he realized how fucking devastating this is.
I grew up in a middle-class family, so $500 million seems, to cancel, it seems like an incredible waste of money. But it also seems like a commentary upon what the president was attempting, what the president did in Operation Warp Speed, which is to create a platform by which to create vaccines. So this just seems inconsistent that you would agree with me the president deserves a tremendous amount of credit for this.
Is this a question, Senator Cassidy, or is this a speech that you don't want me to answer? Because I want to answer that question.
Please.
If it's a question.
But be tight, please.
First of all, the reason that Operation Warp Speed was genius is it did something nobody had ever been done. I don't think any president, but President Trump could do it. It got the vaccine tomorrow.
Oh my God. That's right. That's what happened. She died so young, chat. She died so young. Fucked up. Fucked up how the vaccines took her away from us.
That was perfectly matched to the virus at that time when it was badly needed, because there was low natural immunity and there were people getting very badly injured by COVID.
So there's, wait, I don't understand. So it's good, but it's also bad. How does that work?
But be tight, please.
First of all, the reason that Operation Warp Speed was genius is it did something nobody had ever been done. I don't think any president, but President Trump could do it. It got the
he expedited the murder vaccine, dude. What do you mean? What do you mean? He made sure that the vaccine that literally is murdering people, according to your statements, was brought out super fast. He did that. How does this work?
Vaccine to market that was perfectly matched to the virus at that time when it was badly needed, because there was low natural immunity and there were people getting very badly injured by COVID. But it was also brought in therapeutics like hydroxychloroquine and protocols for treatments, and there were no.
Another thing that doesn't make sense is that a completely separate company, another pharmaceutical company that makes ivermectin, had to literally come out and be like, stop buying our shit. And like, you don't do that if you're just invested in making money, right? But they straight up had to be like, please stop buying ivermectin for COVID. It doesn't work. It's not for COVID. So I guess, that pharmaceutical company is good, or they're somehow also bad because they just didn't want you to take the dewormer.
Mandates. And then
Okay, I have another question, so please, about 15
That's when I began litigating against President Biden's mandates.
It was good when Trump